Have you ever heard that writing is 2% inspiration and 98% perspiration? What if I told you that writing could be 98% inspiration? Welcome to Intuitive Writer. I'm your host, Camille Chan. I'm here to show you how you can tap into inspiration and make it a part of your everyday writing practice. Say goodbye to those days of perspiring over the keyboard and hello to inspiration. Hey guys, welcome back to the Intuitive Writer podcast. I'm your host, Camille Chan. I hope everybody out there is having a great week so far. And I just wanted to mention that here where I live in Northern California, we're actually in the middle of a red flag warning, which just means that the wind is blowing really, really, really fast. It's blowing like 60 miles an hour outside my house, and it's really loud. So if you hear weird banging or whistling, it's just the wind doing its thing. And before we jump into this week's episode, I just wanted to take a minute for a little show and tell. If you're watching the podcast, if you're watching the YouTube channel, I just want to show you my new book. I completely forgot to mention that I published a new book on New Year's Eve. It's book 2 in Zombie-nist Invasion, and I am completely in love with this story and the characters. And I haven't shared my pen name on this show. I write under the name Camille Peacock, and I intentionally separated my writing name with this Intuitive Writer podcast brand. I created 2 different names because I didn't think that most fans of zombie apocalypse wanted to find my writing podcast, and I didn't think that people out there wanting to learn how to write were necessarily interested in my zombie book. So I actually haven't mentioned that I have a different pen name. So I write under the name Camille Peacock, and so I had a new book out, and the print copy just arrived over the weekend, and there is nothing more exciting than holding your printed book for the first time. It's very rewarding. It's very exciting. Much more so than the ebook. The ebooks are great, but there's just something about holding your printed book, which is amazing. So I hope all of you get to experience this at some point if you haven't yet. Now we're going to dive into this week's episode. And this week's episode is actually a 3-parter. So there's going to be 3 sections. There's going to be a confession, a story, and then a lesson. So we're going to start with part 1, which is the confession. And when I use the word confession, I am not using it in the old school sense of releasing sin or confessing a crime. I'm using it in a different sense. I'm using the word confession in the sense of stepping out of the shadow and into the light. I mean it in the sense of stepping out of shadow and into authenticity. For most of us, there's always some part of us that plays small, that hides in the shadows, that's afraid to be authentic and step into the light. So today when I share my confession with you, what I'm doing is I am stepping forward in a new, authentic way and sharing a truth about me that I have only shared with a very select few. And as I've spent the last couple of months recording these podcast episodes, I realized that I was picking language that danced around my truth. I talk around it, but I don't talk directly about it, and I don't use, or I haven't up until this point, used language that's authentic as it could be. So when I talk about connecting with characters and seeing them and talking to them, the word that I don't use, oh, it's a little scary. The word I don't use is medium. I am a medium. I talk to spirits, they talk to me. We hang out. I have a very comfortable existence with spirits that have passed. Most of the ones that I work with are very old. And yeah, it's a bit like having extra roommates. We hang out, we talk. They put pictures in my head. They share words with me. They share things with me. And yeah, I'm very comfortable with it. My home is a very loving, happy place. And the work that these spirits and I do together comes from a place of love. And yeah, like I said, they're just around all the time. Just last week, I was sitting at my computer doing a spreadsheet for work, and one of them just came by, say hello. A lot of times they move through my body to let me know they're around. And she actually came by to encourage me to do this episode. So, yeah, sometimes they're there to help me out. And then sometimes they just want to talk. There's one that stepped forward for one of my older series, Undead Ultra. His name was Eric, and he is a soldier from Brittany. Brittany doesn't even exist anymore. It's an area that is now part of France. But he was a soldier from Brittany, and the other night he woke me up. He wanted to talk. And it was a bit like, if you know what it looks like for someone to pick up a picture book and to flip through it like a coffee table picture book. Like, he was flipping through all of these battle scenes. He wanted to show me all these battle scenes that he had been in, and it was very intense. When I woke up, I could feel his energy rippling around my face. I could feel him there in the room with me. And yeah, he just wanted to talk and show me some pictures of his life and these battle scenes, which is a lot to take in the middle of the night. So sometimes when that happens, sometimes I'll talk to them. Sometimes I'll just say, hey, I'm tired. We got to talk another time, which is what I did that night when Eric came. I just said, hey, hello. I know you're there, but I'm exhausted. So let's pick this conversation up another time. And then he went away. So yeah, my home is a happy, loving place. I've been in homes that I would consider are haunted, that have negative energy, and my home is not one of them. And the spirits that choose to work with me, that are brought to me, it's a partnership of love. And most practicing mediums out there, what they do is they connect people on this plane with loved ones that have passed over. It can be family members, friends, it can be pets. And a lot of mediums will also help people connect with spirit guides and angels and things like that. So this is not what I do. I have no calling to do this. The way I use my gift is with my writing. And these spirits that step forward to work with me, they're here for healing. And the work that we do is for healing. I've shared a little bit in previous episodes. I think it's 5 or 6, where I talk about spirit guides. I talk about a character named Ben, who was a Vietnam veteran. And what he really missed out on in life was having a love story. And so that's what we created together. We co-created this new reality for him, where he got to experience the love story that he didn't get to experience in real life. And this is that healing that I'm talking about, where this healing comes from. And in last week's episode, I talked about Anton, the little boy from World War I that was killed. And he's here to work with me because he really needs to know what it means to survive war, because he didn't survive war. And so that's the experience that we are weaving together for him. And this work that we do together brings healing to these spirits. And this is a really big part of my my purpose as a writer. This is part of the work that I'm here to do. And I've known it for quite a while, but it's really scary to talk about. I guess in a way this is my coming out party and you're all invited. Yeah, it's scary for me to talk about because they're experiences that are very special to me. I feel really honored to do this work. I feel really honored that these souls step forward, to work with me and to share with me, and to allow me to be a part of their healing. So yeah, it's just something I've always held very near and dear to my heart, and it's not something that I share. But that's going to change. I feel really called to step forward into this authenticity and to just really be more authentic and honest about what I do. Something that I find very cool and very interesting is when you look through my book reviews, especially of my zombie books, because these books were written as I was really becoming a conscious creator. So as I was stepping forward and understanding this gift that I have and really leaning into it and working with it, a lot of my reviews talk about my characters and how amazing they are and the breadth that they have and how well developed they are and that they feel like real people. And the reason they feel real is because they really do have soul and an energy behind them, and they work with me. They step forward to co-create with me. And so that I spent many years of my life unconscious and unaware of the fact that I had this gift and that I was doing this thing. But as I look back on my childhood, I understand that I was doing this at a young age. I just didn't have any context in my life to have any idea of what was happening. But I would hear voices, I would hear music, I'd get huge downloads from spirit, to the point that I was often distracted because they were so loud and I was bringing them in, and I had no idea what was happening. But as I look back at my childhood, I'm like, oh yeah, I channeled all the time. I was communicating with spirits and the universe all the time in my writing. So this is something that I've always done and that I've always brought to my writing. I just did it on an unconscious level, and it's only been within the past few years that I've really understood what it is what I do and what happens when I'm writing and when these spirits make contact, and how to work with them and lean into them. So this is my confession. This is me stepping out of the shadows. This is me making a conscious decision not to hide and not to play small, and to step forward and stand before you authentically as a medium who works with spirits in my writing. And you're only the second group that I've shared this with. My first group is my Patreon group. I felt very scared to send out this letter and a video to them, explaining what I do and sharing a story about one of the characters that many of them love, and telling them about who she really was and what the story was that she really wanted to tell. So yeah, it's very scary to do this, and I think the reason it's so scary is because when you step out of the shadow and you stand in the light, you risk getting burned, right? It's so scary. When you stay in the shadows, you have that layer of protection between you and the world, because if you are judged or if people think badly of you or speak badly of you, there's always that layer of protection between you and the world. But when you stand in the light, in your authenticity, whatever that authenticity is, this happens to be mine. But there's all sorts of things that we all hide from. There's all different ways that we all make ourselves small to keep ourselves safe. And the reason we do it is because it makes us so vulnerable to be authentic and to be real. And I mean, look at me, I'm crying, I'm so scared. I'm so scared. But yeah, I'm here, I'm showing up as a medium, a channeling medium, and I'm going to start embracing that language and using it on a regular basis because it is authentically me. So this is the end of part 1 of this episode. That was my confession, my truth to you. And now we're going to move into part 2, which is the story. And I'm going to share the story of how I came to be sitting here with you today, so vulnerable and authentic. And it's a very cool story. This is the story of Stevenson. And this story has been bumping along for the last 6 months or so. Stevenson is a character in my series, Zommunist Invasion, and I knew he was going to be a character before I even got to the book where he was first introduced. So I was working on book 1, and I knew there was going to be this character named Stevenson, a teenage chess player. And while I was working on book 1, I was sitting in a meditation, bringing in a scene, and in the middle of it, Stevenson stepped forward, this teenage boy. And he was wearing a dress. And I have to admit, I was shocked. A, because I wasn't trying to tap into him, I was working on something else, and B, here he was, he's a teenage boy in a dress. And the message was very clear that this is a transgender. So there was going to be this coming out story of this transgender boy. And I like to say that intuitive writing is not about writing what you know. It's about expanding and challenging yourself and writing about things that you don't know. I know next to nothing about being transgender. I am a straight female. So I knew it was going to be a big challenge, but hey, I mean, that's the energy that was showing up. So I was all about honoring it and working with it. So that was probably last June of 2020 that Stevenson stepped forward. And he was a side character in book 2. That's the one that I just showed you, the one that came out on New Year's Eve. And then over Christmas break, I've talked about this 2-week binge writing session that I had. And Stevenson stepped forward to be a point of view character in that particular book. But I didn't actually start on his section during my break. So it wasn't until vacation was over and I had to return to the real world, my world of spreadsheets and other interesting office-y things, that I moved into the section that was going to be written from Stevenson's point of view. And I have to tell you, as soon as I started, I felt so stuck and so sluggish, and I was bummed, especially because I'd been on this 14-day writing high where things were just flowing. And my first thought was, oh, it's because I'm back at work. So, suddenly 9 hours of my day are being emotionally invested in something else. So I'm just not able to bring the focus and the clarity to my writing that I was during the holiday time of the previous 2 weeks. And that was okay. That's just how things go. And so I was sitting in meditation one day, and I was really asking the universe, please help me. Please help me bring this story in. I know what the story is. I know it's this coming out story. I see it, but it's not coming to me. I'm not feeling the energy of it. So I sat down in meditation to connect with Stevenson. And I have to be honest, I did at first think he was going to be a spirit. I thought he was one of the spirits that stepped forward to work with me. And I've said before that I work with many different things. And this is an example of not working with a spirit. I was actually working with an energy. And so when I asked the energy to step forward, it did step forward it showed itself to me as Stevenson. So it showed itself to me as a teenage boy in this flower print sundress. Very cute. But when it spoke to me, it wasn't a soul. It told me that it was an energy of revealing. And I was like, oh, okay, that was very interesting to me, that it was stepping forward as this energy of revealing, which made sense because I was attempting to write a coming out story of a transgender teenage boy. And as I made contact with this energy, conscious contact with this energy, I got this huge message. And the message was that this energy of revealing was all about bringing your secrets out of the shadow, bringing your authenticity out of the shadow and into the light. And it hit me all of a sudden. I realized that this energy that had been hanging around me for about 6 months, it was an invitation for me. And it was inviting me and asking me to step forward authentically and, to share the fact that I'm a medium and that I channel spirits and that they step forward to work with me and do this work with me. And that's why this energy came to me. That's why this character came to me, because this invitation was being extended to me. And this revealing energy was being given to me so that I could find the courage, the courage to step forward and make this big leap, to jump off this cliff that was so terrifying for me. That's why this energy came to me. And it all just clicked. And I'd actually been getting messages for the past couple weeks around the same topic. And I was being confronted with it from many different directions. I'm always on the lookout for synchronicity, because when I get messages from different places, all together, I understand that it's messages that are coming to me. And so there were a lot of synchronicities around me all about this same topic, about stepping forward to stand in authenticity. So I really understood that was the next step in my journey as a writer, as a creator, as a teacher here on this podcast, was to really embrace this revealing energy and to take the leap to reveal myself authentically. And yeah, that was why the energy was here. And what was amazing is, as soon as I understood this message and I accepted the invitation, it was immediate that the story snapped in. And all of a sudden I was flowing, I was writing super fast. The story was just flying through me, coming out of my fingertips. And honestly, I'm almost done with it. I only have like another 2 chapters to write and I'm done with this book. But I had to step into this place of authenticity, because that's the energy that, in order to, I'm not saying this right, but in order to properly channel this energy of revealing, I had to reveal myself. And yeah, that's what had to happen. So Stevenson is the reason that I am sitting here in front of you today, sharing this truth with you. The biggest takeaway from Stevenson's story is that authenticity equals alignment equals flow. So when I wasn't standing in my authenticity, I was actually jamming my frequency and I was creating this static. And it's the reason why, when I sat down to write Stevenson's story. It's why it felt so sluggish and so elusive, and why I couldn't get my arms around it, and why I couldn't bring it in. Because it's this energy of revealing, and I wasn't ready to reveal myself. I wasn't embracing this energy. But as soon as I did, I just snapped in, and I was aligned with myself. I was aligned with this energy that wanted to come through me, and that's when the magic happened. That's when I sat down and, I could write 1,000, 1,500 words an hour without even blinking an eyelash. Like, the story just poured through my body and out of my fingertips. And that's the true story of Stevenson, that yes, he reveals himself in the story as a transgender teenage boy, but the true story is that authenticity equals alignment and equals flow. This brings us to the third part of this podcast, which is the lesson. Because though initially Stevenson's energy and invitation was for me, he's also coming through me. So this invitation is going out into the universe, and everybody that comes in contact with this energy and with this invitation, all of you are given the same opportunity that I was given. And that, yes, that includes you guys, my podcast listeners, and it also includes my readers who come in contact with this revealing energy. This revealing energy is here to embrace you. It's here to support you and to help you stand in the light, in your authentic truth. And I know that for a lot of you, you might not even know where you're hiding or playing small. You might not know which parts of you are in shadow because they're buried so deeply, because there is so much fear around bringing them into the light. And I just want you to know that this energy, Stevenson's energy, it's here to support you. It's extending an invitation, and you have the opportunity to take it by the hand and step into authentic creativity. Because again, authenticity equals alignment, equals flow. And with flow, you step into your creative purpose. Our creativity is here for a lot of different reasons, and it's different for everybody. One of my creative purposes is to bring healing to these spirits that step forward to work with me. And I had to get into flow. And the more I'm in flow, the better I'm going to be able to fulfill my purpose and honor my creativity. So all of you are invited to do this with me. I would love to hear from you if you want to share. I'm at Right With Intuition on Instagram, and yeah, I'd love to hear your stories. And if you want to cry, you can cry too. I had to have a big cry off screen a few minutes ago because yeah, it is scary, you guys. It is. It's so hard. It's so scary, and it's hard to be judged, and it's hard to be criticized. But I just want to let you all know that this energy is here to support you and to help you. And if you choose to accept the invitation that's being extended, you are going to find creative flow. And it's going to be beautiful, I promise. Working with Stevenson's energy, it was amazing. What can I say? I even got to bring in an old school favorite of mine. I grew up with this cartoon named She-Ra, the Princess of Power. And so since this book is set in the 80s, there's a lot of references to She-Ra from Stevenson's character. So yeah, like I said, it's beautiful, and it can be so much fun, and it is so rewarding and fulfilling on a soul level. I'm going to close this episode with a disclaimer. I am not necessarily here to teach everyone out there how to be a medium. I have no idea if you're a medium or not. I have a feeling that many of you are, that many of you do this work that I do. I have a guide that brings me these souls to work with. He's kind of our go-between. And I asked him, do you do this for a lot of other writers? And he said that no, he doesn't. And that's because so many creative people out there are operating in an unconscious space. They're not aware of their connection with the universe. They're not actively trying to use their intuition to engage the universe. But he did say that he could be doing it a lot more. But at this time, for whatever reason, teaching mediumship specifically is not my calling. It might be later, but at the moment, it's not. And the work that I do with Intuitive Writer, yes, I do specifically work with spirits, but I work with a lot of other things. There's a lot of other energy. So whether you are a medium or not, it doesn't matter. Intuitive writing is still a beautiful practice. If you are creative, I know you feel these creative urges and these creative drives, these, this deep desire in your bones to make your art, to write, to make your stories, your poetry, your whatever it is, that there's a deep desire in your bones and in your soul. And I know you feel it. I feel it every day. And I have tons of writing friends, and we all feel it. It's this calling. And energies are out there, and they're pushing because they want to work with you. So whether or not you specifically are going to work with spirits of the deceased, I have no idea. But there's plenty of other energy out there that it's different, that's not souls, that wants to be expressed through you. So when you feel these desires and these urges to create, it's because there's these energies out there that want to work with you. And the more you lean into this practice, the more you do all the things that I share in this podcast, the more your intuition is going to come into alignment with these energies that want to be expressed through you. And it's going to bring you clarity, it's going to bring you flow, and it's going to bring you speed and beauty and so much gratitude. And it's going to help you find and fulfill your purpose as a creator. And you don't have just one purpose as a creator. These different energies that I work with, they're here for different reasons. Like this whole story that I shared about Stevenson. This is a message and an energy that I am being asked to project out into the world. So that's what I'm doing. This particular instance isn't a healing with a soul like some of the other ones. So yeah, I just wanted to have that disclaimer that that I'm not necessarily here to teach everyone to be a medium, but I do believe that if you do this work and if you sign up for my course when it's released, a lot of you are going to find that you are mediums, that you are connecting with spirits and souls and helping them heal and bring their story onto the page. And if you find that scary or freaky, I don't know what to say to that, because I'm not scared. I'm so comfortable with it because that's who I am. And I look at the works that I co-create with these spirits and they're beautiful, and I'm so proud and excited to send them out into the world. So yeah, the work, it comes from a place of love and it's creating something that's beautiful. So I don't have any fear. I don't have any fear around it. And it's not weird to me. So anyway, these are just my parting thoughts. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being part of this space. Thank you for letting me share with you and stand before you as a writer and a medium who channels spirits and co-creates with them. Thank you so, so much. I have so much gratitude to you. If you enjoyed this episode or if you enjoy this podcast, I would love it if you would share it on social media, tell all your friends, help me spread the word. I'm on Instagram at Write with Intuition. I would love to hear from you. I'm on there every day, so please feel free. Stop by if you have questions or you just want to say hello. I'd love to hear from you. And please subscribe to my show. I'm on both YouTube and I'm on all major podcast platforms. And if you'd like to stay up to date when I release my Intuitive Writer Activation workshop, there's a link below for my newsletter, and I'll have a coupon there for you for the sign up. And that's it for today. I will be back next week. I hope everyone has a great week. I'll talk to you soon.